Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chair.
Everybody good?
Yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Crazy week, but good. And I saw that Director Wong, we were going to do the one that we didn't get to last, the complete and green streets. How long do you want that to go, in your opinion?
So Callie is presenting, and she will. It'll be about 10 minutes, I believe.
Okay.
And if there are any questions following the commission, you should feel free to ask.
Okay.
But right after that, we'll move into the agenda items. There is a records retention presentation, and that we can move that to the end. But we do need to hear that today because we have a records commission meeting next week.
Okay. How long is that presentation?
Excuse me for the notifications. It's really going to be 5 to 7 minutes, and I
Okay.
really just need your sign off, or your opinions and your sign off.
Okay.
Verbally.
I mean, I think the agenda we can manage through and get to the end. I haven't heard anybody who says they have to leave early, so, but I even think we'll probably get done early anyway. All right, I see August, I see the councilman, I see Denise McCrae Scott. I hear an echo. You guys hear that echo? Yeah, who is that?
Everyone could please mute unless you're speaking. That would be really helpful to reduce feedback.
One of the call-in users, I keep getting indications that there's sound coming from it. I'm not sure if I'm going to mute the call-in users. In order to unmute yourself, you'll hit *6.
I also see August, so I think we have a quorum. So I think we can start the meeting.
With that, I'll go ahead and read the preamble. Welcome everyone to the August 19th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law in section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When you finish speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6, as Maurice noted. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter via our website and email have been considered. We've also received emails from those who provided written comments on a particular matter. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, let's call the roll.
Downing.
Present.
Fluker.
Present.
Curry.
Present.
McCray Scott. McCray Scott.
Present.
Paul. Slife.
Present.
Madam Chair,
Okay,
we have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We're going to start with a special presentation from last week about the complete and green streets. Callie, are you here?
I am here. Good morning.
Okay, thank you. I spoke with the director. I think we're going to have about 10 minutes of your presentation and then some Q&A.
Sounds great. Thank you. So hi, everyone. I'm Callie Mersman, Senior Strategist for Transit and Mobility with the City of Cleveland. And I'm joined by Rick Spitalski from Engineering and Construction in the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects. We're here just to give a brief update on Complete and Green Streets Initiative progress. Rick, do you want to say a quick hello?
Sure. First of all, good morning, everybody. And on behalf of Directors DeRosa and Wong, we are grateful for your time so that we can inform you of the progress we've made with provisions of the Complete and Green Street Ordinance. Over the last 2 months, we have had extensive internal discussions with representatives from several departments and divisions, including MOCAP, planning, traffic engineering, streets, water pollution control, urban forestry, and sustainability to develop a complete street policy for the city-sponsored transportation projects as directed by the Complete and Green Street legislation. We're happy to say that the first draft of this policy is now available online. We're here today to briefly share highlights and next steps.
Thanks, Rick. So as
Thank
a
you.
quick refresher from what we shared with you when we were here for the Complete and Green Streets mandatory referral for the legislation, a 2022 Complete and Green Streets update passed council on June 6th and set up a vision and governance structure for implementing Complete and Green Street elements in our roadway projects. It also includes the formation of a Transportation Infrastructure Advisory Committee. These are external stakeholders that advise the city on roadway project elements and direct city departments on reporting. Sorry, the legislation also directs city departments on some reporting and transparency measures to expand public understanding of our decisions and processes. If you could go to the next slide, please. So this reviews the elements. Go ahead to the next slide.
Madam Chair, I'm not seeing the slides.
It must be you because I see them. I think everybody else does too.
Okay,
Anyone
I'm
else?
sorry.
Do you, might be just a setting from how
Yeah.
you're viewing it?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so as a continued refresher, the main change in this updated process is that we're bringing conversations about desired project elements and an interdisciplinary review process to the front end of the process. So this is before project scopes, budget, or funding strategies are set in stone, which allows us to consider desires and determine what can realistically be accommodated in projects. This process also adds transparency and understanding through advisory committee input. That's the TIAC review that you see in the process. We'll be publicly posting any exceptions to TAC recommendations and reporting on outcomes at the end of projects. You can go to the next slide, please. So Rick mentioned the interdepartmental conversations we've had over the last 2 months since the legislation was passed. Using insights gained from these staff and the direction established in the legislation, the directors of capital projects and city planning have a first version of our complete and Green Streets administrative policy posted to the city planning website. We plan to review that policy with the TAC when they are convened. So at this point, it's considered a draft to take in their recommendations, as well as continue to build on this policy as we develop and initiate the new process. The policy will be reviewed periodically, updated, and reposted. So we do view this as a living document. The policy creates both an interdepartmental staff working group with diverse representation across city departments to review projects regularly before they go to the TAC committee. And it also creates guidelines around the formation and the structure of the TAC. There are members that are appointed by council as well as by the mayor. Legislation says that we need to appoint these members within 90 days of passage, so you should expect to see those announced in early September. The TAC should be convened per legislation within 6 months, and so we expect that first meeting to be in November or December of this year. We do have an open nomination form for resident appointees for the mayor. The two residents that you see at the end of the slide, one is appointed by council and one's appointed by the mayor. On the website that is on city planning's page, there's a nomination form, which is open through this Sunday, August 21st. There's a couple of days extension since we didn't get to present this last week and want to get the word out as much as possible. We are looking in general for residents of the city with relevant, complete, and Green Streets experience, and understand that experience can come in many different forms, from professional to lived experience on our streets. One additional item about the TAC, they will be responsible for electing a chairperson, and the policy also allows them to adopt some additional governance guidance or bylaws if they choose as a body. Go to the next slide, please. So a main strategy for integrating complete and Green Streets elements early in the project cycle is understanding fully our priorities for a given corridor. This slide shows a prototype mapping tool that staff are developing that overlays recommendations from existing and adopted plans like TLCIs, safe routes to school, safety concern areas identified through Vision Zero. We're also compiling governing documents that may not have geographic specific recommendations, but set overall tone and values like the climate action plan and the tree plan. We know that integrating elements can be a capacity challenge given the number of projects the city does annually, all the way from routine resurfacing to major corridor transformations. And so this mapping tool helps us to overlay what we know are recommendations to inform those conversations. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we're looking at projects across a broad range. We have alleys in the city all the way to major arterials, and we perform capital projects on those all the way from routine maintenance to transformative corridor projects. Timing and available funding vary widely across this spectrum of projects. And so we're developing a complete and Green Streets approach that can fit with those realities. And this is where we go back to the core concept of context sensitivity. For residential resurfacing, we use local dollars only on those, and they typically are stretched as far as they can go to preserve pavement condition. We know that complete and Green Streets elements in this piece will involve close collaboration with council and respecting the very tight timelines and funding constraints that go along with that residential resurfacing program. We do have a suite of complete and Green Streets programs that follow all residential resurfacing projects within a 3-year window, including use of recycled asphalt, ADA curb ramp upgrades, tree trimming, tree damage, sidewalk repair, sewer cleanouts, and the street light program. And we're also developing new programs like traffic calming, decorative street painting, and systemic safety improvements that can be overlaid on streets outside of the sort of routine capital investment that maybe comes to every street only once every few decades. Next slide, please. So the Complete and Green Streets policy in its draft form identifies roadway projects on collectors and arterials are where we have the most opportunity to see transformational complete and green streets elements. These are the streets that tend to be transit priority corridors, the ones where we want to see enhanced separated bicycle infrastructure, where there tends to be the most pedestrian volumes and the most serious safety concerns in terms of our Vision Zero analysis showing serious injuries and fatalities. So our strategy here is to leverage the limited local dollars that we have for state and federal funds that can cover our objectives and enhanced elements we desire. What we've discovered through this process is over the last 3 to 4 years, Cleveland has had between $16 to $24 million of local funds annually to invest in our roadways. About half of that, or 12 million, goes to residential resurfacing that I just talked about. So that leaves us with an average of $5.7 to $6 million in local funds each year to leverage for these state and federal grants as much as possible to fund improvements. So having conversations early helps us inform project scopes, develop funding strategies, and try and leverage those dollars as much as possible to see the elements that we wish to have. Next slide, please. So this is the final slide, just with some highlights from the website. We would love for you to go and nominate residents. I do want to say that this updated process mostly impacts projects going forward. So street projects that are already under design with set budgets or approaching construction, our opportunity to make adjustments there is very limited, but we look forward to implementing this this improved and new process for projects going forward.
Okay, that conclude?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, commission members, questions or comments?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Madam Chair. Were you done?
Yes.
I just have one concern relative to the resident selection. I hope that this criteria that's been established does not exclude folks, because it just sounds like it may do so.
So we don't have set criteria. Our form is very open-ended. The legislation does say that residents need to have complete and green streets experience, but we purposely didn't define that as professional or technical experience to make that resident representation open for diversity and a variety of experiences.
I have maybe a different question. So I like this. I like where it's heading with the committee. I also find in these kind of projects that the most important moment is extremely early on in the process when decisions are made or a vision is set, or whoever is leading the project from the city's perspective has a charge or a sense of how far to push the project. So can you talk timing for me about, when intervention can be made to make sure that we push? I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, just having been involved in a lot of projects, most decisions are made early. By the time things get too far along, by the time they get to us, it's too late. And it tends to be all about the individuals who are leading the project, who may get pushed a little bit and can have some guidance. But I'm really interested in the early stage decision making.
Yeah, I think that you're right on target there, which is why you see on the process timeline a bunch of changes early. Rick, do you want to make any comments on timeline and project birth, so to speak? And
yeah, and before Commissioner Switulski comments, I'm wondering, Maurice, if you could move up to that timeline slide one more time. It's up a few slides so that we can see. So the red arrows are new processes that are being implemented. But Callie, can you reframe your question and Commissioner answer your question? Thank you.
Sure. So what I heard is to speak a little bit to how we are going to address and look at projects early enough to have input in the vision and direction of them. And I want to let Rick speak to that, since he knows much more technically the timelines and deadlines and funding to go on projects. I will say I think that in the last couple of years we have begun to make progress in this direction. We see on many of our corridor projects that are coming soon. So Carnegie has a TLCI, Buckeye had a TLCI. The Franklin resurfacing going on right now was informed through traffic calming study through a technical assistance from NOACA. And so the coordination between the planning department and capital projects allows us on the planning side to understand much earlier what is on the list for upcoming resurfacing. We've been talking in our staff conversations about looking like 4, 5, 6 years down the road, what is likely to be coming up, so that we can do that groundwork in advance to inform the vision and the scope. Rick, would you like to add anything to that?
Looking at it as early as possible is what we have to do. We've kind of morphed from E&C putting scope together with traffic engineering's help to now involving others. Now we're fully vested with planning, having them involved. Now a lot of these projects right up front are getting vetted so that we make sure that we include as much as we can. We always have to keep an eye on funding, on what our bonding capacity is, and try to make a marriage the best we can to fit as much as we can with what available funds we have. So understanding, looking at these projects, again, 4 or 5 years before they really start moving toward a funding source is when we have to get that and understand what we're doing. This is set up that we have a number of divisions, departments that we will work with to look at the scope of the project before we even go to the TAC, and make sure that what funds we have available, what's out there that we can put together, and then bring it to them. So yes, it's a couple years in advance is what we're doing now.
Okay, that's helpful, and I appreciate that. I would suggest to Callie, in your kind of role, or your new role, this idea that there always needs to be a keeper of the vision, the big vision, the kind of multiple project vision, and a sense of here's all that we have that the city may be driving or that might be coming. And of course, I hear Rick, like not all of them can have everything, right? But I firmly believe that things are episodic, projects come, and there needs to be a keeper of the vision, the city, likely you in your position, that says, you know, this is a priority, here's how we're going to do this, here are the projects we've got going on, here's how far we're going to push some differently, and that it has to hold together in an overall city vision for kind of the public realm and complete and green streets. So I appreciate this, appreciate the committee, but I still think that some accountability to sort of, you know, pushing this as far as possible should lie in kind of somebody's purview at the city, and I think that's yours. I just want to say that, but we'll go on. I see August has his.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to piggyback on one item as you were talking and the feedback was given. I hope that this process also investigates different and innovative revenue streams. In other words, if we continue down this path with how we conventionally done this, I fear that we're really never going to change the narrative or move the needle. So it would be nice to know what's in store for that. Are we bringing others in who can help complete that effort? I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I assume that that's kind of also the role is of your department too, Callie, which is to try to help bring additional resources to the table to deliver some of this. Is that true?
Yes, I think increasingly we see us working across departments in a more unified approach. So we will work with capital projects and other departments and entities to figure out how to fund. Going back to your earlier point about having that vision and knowing what the desire is for a specific project very early, that allows us to understand what our project budget is before our funding sources are set. And we know that there are a lot of opportunities coming on the federal level for increased money going toward infrastructure. There's an opportunity maybe to leverage other private sources as well as state and regional. So we are doing a scan of all of those things. Many of them do require local matches. And so there is some strategy around what that is available and how that balances across other city priorities and projects. But I think all of these comments are reinforcing that we know that our mayor has priorities around climate action, around access to alternative transportation and complete and safe streets. And so as leaders are coming on board, we have a new director of sustainability. Climate action plan is going to be updated. This legislation directs planning to create an updated mobility plan or active transportation plan for the entire city. We know that there are new funding sources that we're strategizing around, and the city is bringing on a grant writer specifically for the built environment. So all of these pieces are kind of coming into place. We're working on fitting them together. And so this is an update presentation to you guys following on the legislation. We're certainly not finished yet, and there's a lot more work to do. So we look forward and hope to be able to come back for these periodically.
Thank you. Director Wong?
Yes, so my very last comment is, I think with regard to the comment about vision, I think that active transportation plan is the next step, because I think that will kind of document and codify the vision of how we want to be more active. And so I think that that'll be a next step, is going through the process of completing that plan, and we'll be back in front of you for adoption of that as part of the vision.
Okay, thank you. Commission members, if I do believe you need a motion, so I'll need a motion in a second. I agree. You need a motion on this, correct?
No, this is purely informational as an update to the public, so
Okay.
and to you all.
Okay. Well, we can endorse it certainly. So
Okay.
thank you very much and appreciate it. Anything else from the commission members before we go on?
One more thing. I get it. I understand what we're striving for. And I think living, and you've heard me say this, Madam Chair, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's not good to self-medicate. and the more we can pull externally from best practices around the country and maybe globally, and I think it's better to bring in fresh and different perspectives. So I just wanted to reinforce what I was trying to state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to go to the agenda for this week. I believe the first matter is a zoning map amendment, and that this is a public hearing. So we will first take presentation from staff on the rezoning. Then we will take sponsor testimony. So anyone speaking, council person or the owner or the architect. And then we'll open it up for public comment. So since it's a public hearing, we'll take first proponents, those who are in favor, and then we'll take opponents, those opposed. We'll ask that you keep your statements to 3 minutes or less so that we can hear from everyone. And remember to address the chair with your comments. So with that, the first item is changing the use area and height districts of parcels of land south of Barber Avenue between West 30th and West 26th Street Place. And I assume Shannon is presenting this one.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Shannon Leonard, Chief City Planner, Zoning Section, City Planning Commission. This is a really quick rezoning, and this is really just to align the zoning with the land use. The southern portion of parcel number 007259090, that is part of the BVQ lofts, is zoned 2-family residential, while the northern portion is zoned limited retail. As you may know, split zoning defaults to the most restrictive zoning. So the entire lot is actually considered 2-family D1. And then this presents a refinancing issue due to our non-conforming clause in 359.03 of the zoning code. Next slide, please. And so this is a really simple rezoning, and I'll kind of walk you through the history of it that came to me through Councilman McCormick's office and Mr. Beckham, who is in charge of the Queen Barbara Vega lofts. And they are having a financing issue because the zoning is diverting to two-family, and they had redeveloped this historic bakery into multi-family loft apartments a few years ago. And so now they're struggling to be able to actually get refinancing done. So we're really just proposing to create the entire lot to be limited retail business north of Barber Court, which has now been vacated. Next slide, please. And so you may remember back in 2018, 2019, there was a large rezoning for the Queen Barber area as well as Lincoln Heights. And so this is just where the yellow outline is where we're discussing today. And this was in Ordinance 885-18. Next slide, please. And so as you can see here, this is the current zoning. To the north of Barber Court, which is now vacated, is limited retail, and to the south is two-family D1. Next slide. And so this was the what it looked like back when we did the rezoning in 2018, 2019, as well as what the building was vacant back in 2013. And this development group came in and redeveloped the building and put in apartments at this location. Next slide, please. And so this is the current conditions in 2021. These are the BVQ lofts. You can see they redeveloped the building into a multifamily. Next slide, please. This is a picture in the top left corner of between West 30th and Barber Court. It was vacated. And so this is just the survey as well as view to the east, the vacated Barber Court as it currently stands today. And then there's an aerial footage and then the view to the south along West 30th Street where that vacation is. North of the blue home owned by Mr. Kennedy. Next slide, please. And so this is the proposal. We're really just proposing to change to match the two-family area to the limited retail to the north so that Mr. Beckham and his group can get the refinancing that they need for this location. You'll notice the 4 parcels immediately east of West 30th Street is owned by Mr. Kennedy. I spoke to him on the phone. He was notified, as well as Miss Rosa, immediately to the east, as well as the properties, 2 properties in past West 30th Street were all notified of this proposed rezoning just to align the land use.
Thank you. Anyone here that is represents the property owner or the councilman or anything like that?
Madam Chair, this is Ben Beckman. I'm joining by phone due to some computer trouble. I don't know if you can hear me. I represent the developer group.
Yep, we can. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I want to first of all thank you and the commission for the time. I want to also thank Councilman McCormick, his assistant Katie Huff, and Shannon Leonard for tremendous support in getting this before you quickly. We really appreciate that. Shannon laid out most of the detail. I'll just add that this was a roughly $17 million historic conversion project. The property is located on the historic register nationally. It has historic tax credit funding as well as both state and private lending sources in the project as well. We took a bakery factory that had a revoked certificate of occupancy due to fire code violations and transformed it into 69 middle income rental apartments with off-street parking. We have 85 spaces of off-street parking on the property. This commission, as well as City Council and the Building and Housing Department, were extremely supportive of the project. We've completed it. We are stable and occupied, operating normally. We do need to refinance to deal with the debt burden that we have on the property at this moment. In brief, the land use, we bought the parcel with the existing factory on it. Then we also assembled the land that fronts on Vega Avenue. Those were 4 separate single parcel acquisitions through a series of consolidations and splits, including a vacation of the public right-of-way through City Council legislation in 2019. We were able to generate the single parcel that is in the plat map today. Unfortunately, really due to ignorance on my part, when we were pursuing the vacation legislation, I did not realize that we needed to amend or addend that legislation to ensure that the more permissive zoning classification would flow through to the consolidated parcel. And so that oversight on my part is why we're here this morning. I'll leave it there. I don't know, Madam Chair, if others have questions, but happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very, very helpful, actually. And I'm gonna, we'll first take public testimony before we take questions from the commission. So I'm gonna ask if there's anyone else here to speak in favor of the zoning change. Just please raise your hand on the chat or click the raise hand feature. I don't see anyone. Is there anyone here that is opposed that would like to speak against the zoning matter or even may have a question? Hearing none, I'll close the public portion. Commission members, any questions or comments or motion?
I move approval. Down.
We have a motion and a second. I think August has a question, so.
No, I was gonna move, but I.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we have a motion. I think the councilman was the second, so we can call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott. McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife,
Motion carries. Thank you very much. It's a great project. And you're one of the first people who comes here and admits that they made a mistake, but it's a small mistake. So thank you for the great project.
Thank you. It's a privilege to have the city's support and to be helpful in transforming this neighborhood. If anything that you all need for assistance locally here on the ground, please let us know.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
motion carries. Next
Bye-bye now.
item. Thank you. I think then the next item, Maurice, is lot split and consolidation for permanent parcel number 002-05-030 and 031. This is at West 73rd Street. Joe, are you here to speak to this?
Yes, I am. Good morning. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
Good. All right, so I'm actually in the video. Perfect. Good morning, everyone. So what we did here was we have, if you could see on parcel C, that is a single family home that we had purchased. Parcel B is a duplex that kind of had an L-shaped lot with an 8-car garage on parcel A. What we did was we tore down that 8-car garage and we're looking to get a subdivision to redevelop that 7,000 square foot lot there. It actually makes the parcel of the duplex, parcel B, a little bit more, a little bit smaller, which is why we are here today. So that is the aerial view. That is the 8-car garage that we had removed.
So can you describe, though, for the two existing houses where their driveways and parking will be?
Sure. So the two existing houses, it's actually a shared drive. It's a very wide shared driveway. Nothing will really change there.
And where do they park?
Right between the two houses here. It's a shared driveway for the duplex on the right or the top, and then the single family on the bottom. What we are proposing is 4 townhome development with adding a shared driveway in the middle of that as well, which is going to be called West 74th Place. That was actually proposed a while back.
Okay. Have you created or submitted one requirement that we have for these is that you sort of deed for the two existing homes, the maintenance and the access on the shared driveway and the snow removal, et cetera. Has that been done?
No, it has not. Well, this currently is not a shared driveway. There's actually a parcel line there.
So there are 2 driveways that butt up against each other?
Yes.
How wide is each one?
Each one, I believe, is around, I would say, 10 feet wide.
Okay. So it's not a shared driveway?
No.
Okay. Confusing. So, yes. Okay, commission members' question. So just to verify, so cars from coming West 73rd, one would pull up against one house or the other in 2 separate driveways, and they can't block each other. Is that correct? I mean, what we're really trying to prevent is someone can't block each other or who's responsible for snow removal or repair. They each have their own independent authority for repairing their own driveway, snow removal, and you can't block each other.
Yes, no, not at all. They were completely separate by the time I purchased the property.
Got it. Okay.
Madam Chair, so that I understand now, I guess I'm a little confused. So it's is it one contiguous pavement, or is there a separation between the two drives? I guess I don't totally understand.
Right. Yeah, there's a separation between the two driveways on the duplex and the single family that are currently there. And then this will be completely separate, the 7,000 square foot lot. Those two driveways will not combine at all.
To the applicant, I guess, so you're saying there's two drives, and is there landscaping between the two? Is there a curb? I guess I don't understand how that works.
There will be, yes. Currently there is not. It's wide open just because of the garages that were demoed. But it will have landscaping and a clear line that kind of, subdivides the two.
Thank you.
And is this also using the townhouse legislation?
Yes, we will be going through all of that. We're just still in the process of trying to get everything completely off of this duplex, because it's currently one parcel, it was one L-shaped parcel. So we had to actually tear down the garages prior to seeing exactly where we'd, put all the lines and everything.
Okay. I mean, I think it makes sense. I'll just be honest. I think a lot more work should be done in terms of the site plan that makes sense to us. I'm sure you're going to come back. Pedestrian access to the unit 4 and 2. There's a whole host of things in the townhouse code that I think you need to work on and detail out that I don't see here. I think August question too. So, I would say if commission members are going to make a motion, I think should be with clarity that, the site plan itself needs a lot of work and needs to come back.
Okay.
Madam Chair, so therefore I will move to approve presentation as submitted, with the caveat that the applicant work to come up with a dignified and engaging way to separate the two drives, with the intent of providing safe passage for pedestrians.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? And I do think you can work with staff. They're really good and they'll help you. And so I would suggest working with the planning staff and as you proceed. But I know you need this to be able to proceed. So we understand that.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, well, let's call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Life.
Okay, motion carries. Diane, you must be inside something with a really big echo. I don't know what it is.
I know, I apologize.
It's okay. Southeast Design Review. This is teen mobile new signage. This is at 4071 Lee Road. This is seeking final approval. I will note that the Design Review Committee disapproved this unanimously. Did not meet the standards of the Lee Harvard Plaza sign and guidelines that were adopted by the Planning Commission. I will ask first who's speaking to this matter, everyone who will be speaking, Kathy and everyone else, because I'm going to swear you in. And then I don't know if the director would like to say anything in advance or if you would like to hear the presentation first, but let me first swear you in. Who's here to speak to this matter?
Kathy Clark.
Okay. Or anyone else with your team or just you?
No.
Just you. Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay. Director, would you like to go let the presentation go first or make any comments?
Yes, let's have the presenter go first. Thank
Okay.
you.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay.
And maybe you could focus on what you think the local design review, what elements did or did not meet the guidelines.
The only element that did not meet the guidelines, the sizes is fine. It's just that back when they did the building, the first, sign plan, it required channel letters only. So that was why they disapproved it. So today we're presenting it. It's T-Mobile's new registered trademark logo. So they're upgrading all their stores to this logo. It is channel letters, but it is on a backer board. So if you see next to it, Family Dollar also has, it basically cabinets, not channel letters. So we're requesting that you do approve, the channel letters on the backer board. Any questions?
Well, can you walk through the presentation real quick so we can see it?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to do this.
Maurice,
Can you walk through the slides, please?
Yeah, sorry, my connection dropped, so I didn't hear what was said. I just had to redial in. What do we need?
Okay.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Right. So you see the old T-Mobile is the old channel letters, which, is part of the sign plan for the plaza. And the new T-Mobile is channel letters on the pink backer board. Again, next to it, you see the Family Dollar that was approved by the Planning Commission, not sure when, but they, have a total different sign concept than the rest of the plaza. So we are requesting that you do approve the T-Mobile channel letters on the backer board.
Okay. Commission members, any comments or questions or thoughts?
Madam Chair, actually, I apologize to interrupt. Marka Fields, Assistant Director, who's still overseeing Southeast Side, has her hand raised.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Marka.
Yeah, so in regards to the Family Dollar sign, that one I think was given a variance, and the reason is because the fact that even though they weren't the individual channel letters, they were kind of cut around the letters so that it kind of mimicked the feel of individual letters. So they did approve that one. That was approved by Planning Commission, I forget, several years ago. But I think what they're trying to prevent is to having several different sign types within the plaza. If you look at the plaza next door, which I don't have a picture of right now, but it has, like, everybody has a different type of sign, and there's no consistency throughout that plaza, and they're trying to prevent this one from doing the same, which is why they said no to the sign that they're presenting, because it actually looks a little bit more like a cabinet sign.
Thank you. Anything else before we open it up to the commission? Have we heard from the councilman?
We have not.
Okay. Okay, commission members.
I guess, and again, I'm not trying to re-engineer this, Madam Chair. I mean, is there a way to do this without having the backer board? In other words, can they apply something to the backside, like a film or something, to the actual wall, and then attach the channel letters so they stand all proud and they appear to be? I don't know. I don't want to contradict signage requirements, but I think there's a solution here to achieve it, and I don't think this is it. To the applicant, I'm sorry. This is actually my comments to the applicant and
Okay.
to Marka.
Yeah, I mean, T-Mobile is going to have to do what you require them to do. My job is to present this, try to get it what they want, because this is their trademark logo, basically, that they're using now, registered trademark logo. So, Yeah, I mean, they could probably just go channel letters, maybe, I'm not sure if they'll go like pink behind. So it's like a little bit of pink behind the white letters, but still be channel letters. So it's basically, I'm at your mercy.
Can I comment, Madam Chair?
Sure.
Because the Planning Commission has approved the signage requirements for the specific plaza, I would ask that the commission consider sticking strictly to the design and uniformity of the shopping center, as that is something that was already approved by the Planning Commission.
Okay, I'll make the motion. I guess that I thought that was saying I wasn't clear. I think what I'm suggesting is move to disapprove the request and have the applicant go back, work with staff to come up with a reasonable solution that fits the criteria mandated.
And I'll second that. Downing.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I do have a question to the applicant. Is the only change in the logo that they went from pink letters to white, that's why they need the backing?
I'm not sure. It's the pink and the white letters. Yeah. That's just their registered trademark, so nobody can copy it or whatever. So they're trying to get that at every location, and not every location has that, let's just say.
Right.
So.
Okay, and then on the left is what's out there today, right? That's the pink letters just attached is out there today.
Right.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I, any other comment before we take the roll?
No.
Okay. Michael, you can call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. To the applicant, of course, we want to work with you. We're glad you're here. I think really work with the staff and see if there's a solution that can kind of, make both things happy, if you will.
Right. I'm sure there will be a solution. So I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay. Next item. This is Southeast Design Review, Near West Design Review case, proposed demolition of a two-story building and a one-story annex. This is at 5550 Clark Avenue. I'm going to swear in Claire and anyone else who's here to speak to this. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, I think. The existing Clark Elementary School would need to come down to make room for the new Clark Elementary School, which I think is the next item that we'll be reviewing. Right now, there's a two-story building on site that's the main school, and then an annex building towards the front of the site. And those are what we would be recommending come down before building new.
Maurice, may you move ahead the slides, please?
Are we going into the presentation for the new school or the demo? Or is this the same presentation?
If I may, it's the same presentation. They were not separated at design review, and so I had to add an extra case number for the demolition.
Okay, well, how about if we hear the new construction too, and then we'll take two separate motions. I'd rather see both, and then we'll take two separate motions. So please go ahead and present the new proposed design.
Okay. I believe there might also be Holly Delasanti on the line. I don't know if she plans to speak at all, so I don't know if you'd want to swear her in.
Holly, are you here? I do not hear her, so go ahead.
Okay. So as just stated, we're proposing that there be a new Clark Pre-K through 8 school on the existing site of Clark Elementary School, which is over on Clark Avenue. It would be built for slightly more student population, so 675 students, and it would offer some additional programming than what they have currently. So there would be dedicated media center, dedicated gym, student dining, art room, project lab, and just up-to-date facilities. There are also planned improvements for the site. So there would be 95 parking spots to accommodate all parking for the staff and any visitors. New bicycle racks, 2 new playgrounds for different age brackets, and then a green area that would be open to the community and school use. And we'll look at all of that as we move through this. It also will be pursuing LEED Silver, so there's sustainable features that are being incorporated throughout the design. Slide. So this is just showing the site location. It's on the border of a few wards. We've been engaging with Councilwoman Santana and Councilwoman Spencer as we've been proceeding through design. Slide. And this is showing the land use of the site. It's been a school since 1881, so it's been a while. The site has grown over the years as the school has expanded and more residents have been in the area and using the site. So then just slide. Zoning, however, is zoned for both 2-family residential and retail along the frontage. So just kind of circled in the red circle here. And then along the front of Clark Avenue, there is a retail overlay, and we'll show how we responded to that and some of what we did in response. Slide. So this, I know it's text heavy, but I also knew you'd have it before, so I apologize for that. But just, there are a few things on our radar that we know we would need to draw attention to as far as items that are a little different in our response than the retail overlay. So one of them is setback from the right of way. We know that max setback there is 5 feet. We're holding back 12 feet in response to a planned multi-use trail that some of the city planners made us aware of. There's also a higher percentage of glass if you're really looking like retail use versus a school than what's safe to provide in a school setting. So we will show what we did there. And then the main entry, we placed it where we did for a good reason as far as the site circulation and where students and staff will be coming from. And that was one item that design review also asked us to investigate a little more as we move forward, as far as just addressing the street a little bit more. And then we've already planned to seek conditional use as it's been a school for a long time, but we know zoning doesn't align with that. Slide, please. So then this is the existing site, and here you can see the buildings that we described as being demolished before the new school will be built. In the middle of the site is the main body of the school. The annex holds a couple of the older grade levels right now towards Clark Avenue. The parking for the staff is all in that northwest corner. And then site circulation right now, West 56 is one-way north. The other streets are all 2-way. West 56 is where a lot of the parents and buses pick up and drop off before and after school. And it's really busy if you've been through there at that time. So we're trying to address and alleviate some of that congestion in the planned proposal. The other piece here, just as far as site use to draw attention to, in the southwest corner, that large paved area is a play area right now. And at the end of the day, that's where students all kind of flood out to then find where their parents are located. So just a couple things about site layout and how it functions. The purple sites, the school district is in the process of acquiring those. I think all the paperwork has been signed now. Just needs finalized, but that's going through. Slide. Then these are just views of the existing building. On the left, 2 images, you can see that paved area and the school in the background. The paved area is also where the old Clark before this current Clark sat. So we're doing some additional geotech investigation there to see if any of it is living underneath that paved area. And then on the right, you see an image of the annex building and then also the parking lot that's in the back.
You can move through a little bit more quicker than design
Yeah.
review.
Okay.
We trust them. We just really need to see the whole thing.
Okay, cool. So this is just student transportation. We have 5 buses on site. We'll show where they're going. Most of the students are arriving by car. Slide. So then this is the proposed site plan. To walk through it fairly quickly here, we are, the driving factor here is of course putting everything and putting it in the right adjacency for interior and exterior programming. So one of the first things that drove where we placed the building was that retail overlay along Clark Avenue and defining that street corridor along Clark as you go towards Cleveland. So we placed the academic bar towards Clark because that's one that we can really activate more with how we place the fenestrations, and we can break up the scale of the building there, but also define that street edge. If we put the gym there, that's a little bit too blank of a facade. And if we do food service or something else like that, we start getting mechanical type uses along the front, which we didn't want to do along Clark Avenue. There's a lot that is tied to interior programming. So the pre-K and K play area has to be attached to pre-K and K the classrooms. The larger play area has to be attached to student dining. So those types of exterior programs landed where they did in relation to the interior program on site. As far as site circulation, so as we stated before, West 56th is one-way north, and that's where all the parents are picking up. And that was stressed in our community meetings a lot, that really they feel is pretty dangerous and they needed to improve that. So one of the things that they suggested doing was bringing off of 56 as much of the parent traffic as we could. So that's what you see with that orange line cutting across the site, bringing cars through, trying to eliminate as much as we can any students crossing into traffic that as parents pick up. And then the other piece that school staff and community mentioned would be key for trying to separate from the parent traffic would be those buses. So you can see the buses were pulling into a smaller lot towards the end of the building to get those out of the parent traffic and eliminate that congestion that might be happening, well, that is currently happening on site. A couple other just pieces that the city made us aware of. Clark Recreation Center has a grant and they are planning some improvements. So we wanted to be sensitive to train court potentially becoming more of a pedestrian route in the future. And then understanding that there's a lot of traffic already between Clark Recreation Center and the school along Clark Avenue. So making sure that that's a safe route for the students as well. The main entry, just to draw attention to it here, is facing north. It's facing towards where the visitor parking is happening, where all the student pickup and drop off is happening, and where staff would be coming from. But staff would also have keys and could use other doors to get in and out of the building. Next slide. This one we can kind of jump over. We just talked through it on the last one. So next. This is looking at fencing around the site. So it's holding to district standards as far as putting chain link around to separate from the neighboring residents, ornamental fencing around the 2 play areas, and then anywhere that we have any parking that is facing towards other houses, doing a headlight screen. Here proposed to be a wood headlight screen. And then next slide. These are just the floor plans. We'll go through them very quickly. Main thing was just, you've got a 3-story academic wing that's along Clark Avenue, and then all the programming that's in that northern bar is meant to also be used after hours by the community. So it's student dining, gym, and media center, and it's totally sealed. You can easily seal it off from the academic wing just for security reasons after hours. Next slide. This is just context, so you can see what is surrounding the building. There's a lot of different materials and colors that are around the site. And then on the school itself, and we didn't include images of this, but there are a couple existing murals and the principal has a good relationship with a graffiti artist that has done some really neat pieces within the school. So we wanted to embrace kind of letting art influence the exterior. So the color palette that you're seeing was selected based off of different Hispanic art pieces, knowing that that's a pretty high demographic within the neighborhood. So very natural tones, but then accents of these cool colors. The warmer tones that you're seeing here would be different bricks. So we're looking at an orange with a range on the base, a little bit more of a tan brick on the top. The cool colors are these sort of drips of metal panel that would be coming down, uniting some of the windows, but giving you sort of a rhythm as you're going along Clark Avenue as well. So south elevation, you can see west elevation would be facing the play area that we already saw. And then if you move forward to the next slide, this would be the north elevation. So you're seeing the academic wing behind and getting a glimpse of the gym. And then there would be a entry point back there as well, as far as if staff wanted to just get into the building as quickly as they could. And then the east elevation, that would be facing some of the residents that are around the site. And the pre-K and K play area would be on this side of the building as well. And then slide, please. This is a view along Clark Avenue. So you can see some of the existing buildings that you saw a picture of earlier to the right there. This would be if you're standing across the corner. So you can get a better sense of the bricks that we're proposing in this image, where you see that little bit of range on the bottom to give it some variety, and then breaking up the scale as we go along it so it doesn't feel too long. And you can see the main entry poking out around the left side of the image where you see that canopy. And then the stair towers are where we're talking about creating an opportunity to kind of treat those as an art gallery, work with the graffiti artist that the school principal already has a good relationship with, and really liven up those areas. One of the design review comments was trying to play with that some more and maybe increase that transparency some more. And then one more slide. This is looking at the northern elevation. So here you're getting a clearer view of that main entry and the visitor parking, getting a glimpse of where the play area is. And then sort of in the middle where the two buildings meet, that's more of an event entry. So if something is going on there after hours, that would be where people would go in for use of the gym, student dining, or the media center. And that is it.
Thank you. We're going to obviously take two motions. So one would be for the demolition. The second is, it says on my agenda that it's conceptual approval for the design. Is that correct? And, you know, I'll leave it to commission members if they're comfortable with the design, if they want to leave the final approval to local and staff. But let's see, the director has her hand raised first. So if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as the applicant has discussed, this will need to come back for conditional use approval for the PRO. And that was an administrative oversight. It should have been posted also as such. So the applicant will need to come back at the next review for conditional use approval.
And the conditional use is for the drives?
If I could have Shannon unmute and speak to the PRO, that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am, Shannon Leonard. So just from what I can see here, they would need a conditional use for the institutional use and a pedestrian retail overlay. And then also for the no main entry on the pedestrian frontage. I believe those are the two. I didn't see a driveway across a public sidewalk, but it may need that as well. I haven't done a formal PRO review here.
Okay.
They'll need to come back to get the conditional uses. We normally take the PRO first and or in tandem with the design.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we have some latitude. We can also leave it to staff unless you can't come to agreement on the PRO as well. So, but first let me hear from the commission members about the design or any questions or concerns.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval on the demolition.
Okay, we have a motion on the demolition. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, motion and a second. Michael, let's call the roll.
Downing.
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. My sense on the design review, the conceptual design review and the PRO is that we ought to do them together. If we're comfortable, they're not going to change the orientation of the building if we give them conceptual approval and the program. So to my commission members, either we address, let's say, some of the issues now, or we may move the design and have them come to staff for the rest. So I'll leave it up to you or see if there are any questions about that. Anyone have any design concerns or anything they'd like to raise? Okay. So can I have a motion on the design portion?
Madam Chair, I guess I'm not totally clear here, if I may ask a question of you.
About what we should do.
PRO and design, if there's something that needs to change, or if there's a variance required, then they would have to come back, and this may impact what we see here, correct?
Well, what I'm saying is we're comfortable with the way this is cited and the design, right? How it faces Clark, and how the entrance is sort of off 53rd at the corner there, right? The main entrance, and not completely facing Clark, which is part of the PRO. If we are giving conceptual approval to the design and the layout, in effect, we're okay with the variances that are required in the PRO, is what I'm saying. So we either have to table this and have them both come back together, or we like the design and we're comfortable with it, which in effect means that we're okay with the variances that are required by the PRO.
Madam Chair, I see Miss Leonard has her hand raised, so I would hear from her.
Yes, Madam Chair. So the conditional uses that are required here would be no main entry along the pedestrian retail frontage and the institutional use. Understanding that this is a school, so I can understand why they did not put the entry along Clark, probably for school safety purposes. The conditional uses would be up to you all. You all would have to pass those. Approve those. Staff would not be able to. But I do agree that, if you're okay with the site plan, because conditional uses are generally site plan specific, then essentially you're also approving the conditional uses. But that's up to you. And I don't know if that's a procedural situation that has to be reposted or whatever. But those would be the two conditional uses they need based on this site plan.
Okay. Do you see what I'm saying, August? So if we approve the site plan, we're okay with the entrance being at the corner there, not facing Clark. Of course, we're okay with the institutional use. It was a school. So, I think our two options are table this, they come back together, or approve the design, which in effect, it'll be procedural, that we're just going to have to, approve the PRO.
You may need to make a motion to approve the conditional use. Yeah. Is that true, Shannon?
We'll probably need two motions then.
Yes, and then may I just make a additional comment? So this was a school previously, and now the PRO was placed after the initial school was there. It's only because they're demolishing it and building new that they're requiring to get these conditional uses.
Yes, got it.
I want to start with the first one, because I think we do need two. I didn't want to conflate what I thought. So I would like to move to approve the design as presented for conceptual, and with the caveat that they work with staff to work out any design issues.
And I'll second that.
Okay. And I'm going to ask this question to you, August. Do you think this needs to come back to us for final, or do you think they can work with staff and local?
I think they could work with staff. I don't see a reason to come back unless what we're suggesting that we give final approval.
Madam Chair, if I may, and I looked to some of the other staff like Michael Bozak and Assistant Director Fields. I believe you do have to provide the final approval staff. Because it's new construction, it must be final approval. So you could approve conceptual today, and then come back procedurally just to do an administrative vote for final.
Okay.
But I look to Michael Bozak and Assistant Director Fields to correct me if I'm off there.
Madam Chair, if I may, just procedurally and some of the nightmarish things that come up when you're trying to go through records and say what happened to somebody a lawyer or somebody who's looking at past records and things, this could be a procedural nightmare. I really urge you to stick with the program, so to speak, give conceptual now, have them come back for the PRO and final approval. That would be my recommendation. It's just easier on us procedurally. So just a suggestion.
Well, I might agree with you, but I also, for efficiency and everyone's time, I also err more on the applicant. We can do what we need to do, my opinion. So if we want to make final approval for this in a separate motion for the PRO, but they come back to local and staff before the sign off, we can do that. And I just care about people's time and this commission's time. Procedurally, we can figure it out. So that's my approach. And I think we should be more efficient as a commission also. So August, you made the motion. So
I'm not that smart. You guys just confused me. So I'm going to hold with my motion as originally presented, which was conceptual approval.
Okay, we got a motion for conceptual approval.
And I second that. I also feel it should just be for conceptual at this point.
Okay, motion and a second. Let's take the vote.
Downing.
Yes.
Fluker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
So can I make a motion then, or can we actually make a motion, or would you rather do the PRO when they come back for final?
I'd rather do the PRO when they come back for final.
Okay.
I agree, Madam Chair. We can maybe unpack this later. I would hate to do this as we're trying to unpack and figure it out.
Okay. But I will note, we approved a design that we know does not meet the PRO. So we, in effect, approved the PRO. So procedurally, we'll figure it out.
Not debating that, Madam Chair.
Yes. All right. Motion carries.
If we're gonna set a precedent, I think we make sure we think it out first. That's all.
Okay. The precedent we just set, which isn't good, is we would have normally approved the PRO first. So just so you know, the precedent we set is the director we should have seen the PRO first. So
why the hell was it presented?
It was just a mistake, and we'll give it
a mistake.
So it's no one's fault. It was an oversight, it seems. So anyway, motion carries. We'll see you back here, and thank you very much. It's a great project.
Thank you all.
All right, next item. Near West Design Review. This is a proposed demolition of a two-story institutional use. This is at 3205 Fulton Road. John, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
John. John's not here. This is Danny Martin with the Diocese of Cleveland.
Okay.
Representing as the owner.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize I was the one presenting it. I was just here more for questions on behalf of the owner, but basically the old school building was subject to a fire 2 years ago. We received a violation notice. We looked at some repair options, some restoration options, but ultimately decided to demolish the old school, and we have a separate proposal to build on to our existing pre-K building. So be a new cafeteria, new gym, and additional classrooms to replace the old parish hall and school building. But right now we're just seeking the demolition that was approved by the Design Review Committee. And yeah, I think there are pictures in the presentation of the old building, but we determined it wasn't salvageable at this point. So any questions at this point?
Maurice, can you run through them, the images?
Again, this is for a different case. That's why I didn't go forward. This is for seeking schematic design approval.
Okay.
So are these the images?
So this first image, this is the building, this is the existing pre-K building that will stay and that we'll add on to. And if you go to the next one, you'll see the front of that building. So I don't want to get into the new design, but if you keep going, you'll see the old school building. All right, so here's the back side. You know, you can, as you scroll through it. So this would be the building that we're taking out. And then, as you can, I don't know if there's a site plan in this presentation, but the way this building is positioned, it's right in the middle of the lot. So when we take it out, it'll really open up our lot to create more play space for the children, you know, better situations for parking, for school drop-off and pickup. So, I mean, as you can see, the damage is very extensive throughout the building. This is a 1930s style building. So,
I'll move approval on the demolition. Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Okay. Call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
Hurry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, is there another piece of this one?
Yeah, so let's see, so this would be, all right, so for the schematic design, so that was presented to the design review board. They had some additional comments, some changes, which we are working on and adding those in. I don't have those drawings available, but I imagine John will bring those back to you guys for your further approval.
All right, so I'm confused. Do we need to table this to the director then, since we don't have the?
I believe we do have the slides. Maurice, if you go further down past the demolition.
So while he's doing that, this is the schematic approval,
That's right.
design approval.
If you can go to the next slide, that's existing. And then if you can go, keep going here. There you go. Thank you.
Does someone want to walk through this, or do we need to table this?
Yeah, no, I can walk through the schematic design. I'm glad these are in here. So as you look at the drawing, basically where the new parking is shown, kind of in the middle, that's where the old school is demoed and removed. So you can see it really opens up the lot there. The layout then, up in the upper right-hand corner in the lighter tan, that's the existing pre-K building. And then the darker tan color, that would be our new addition. That includes additional classrooms, the gymnasium, and the cafeteria. So that's the layout that we presented. It's just kind of to the just a schematic design. We're still working through a lot of the details to finalize that, but this was approved. The committee did ask for additional glazing on the West 33rd front side, so we've looked at adding that. We've also looked at doing a kind of multi-tone on the metal panels to give it just a little more color, not and it'll look less like just a big warehouse. So yeah, so you can see here some of the changes that we've made would be just adding more windows on that West 33rd side, you know, adding some different colors to the metal panels, and then proposing some more detailing in the facade. So those are some of the design considerations we're incorporating, but this is the overall schematic that was approved by the committee.
Okay. Can you go back to the site plan for me, or just for me? And then any comments or questions from the commission? I have to be honest, I think that the West 33rd, the front facade, if you will, from the street is 30, that's 33rd Street, is that what I see? And I don't know the street well, is that a heavily trafficked street?
No, it's residential on the other side of 33rd. The main entrance is off of Fulton.
Right.
On the
Residential, I guess my question, are those single family homes across the way there?
I believe so.
Okay. I do worry, I have to be honest, about the entire length of that wall along 33rd, if that is a residential street with houses and single family lots, that you actually, as you go in the next level of design, that there's a lot more fenestration and care for the fact that if that is a residential street, I just don't know it, that there needs to be a lot more care, in my opinion, about that. If it's an alley, that's a different story, but my sense is it's probably not. And there are people living, and these are 40-foot Cleveland lots, and that's a pretty long, harsh environment with not much fenestration, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that was, I believe, some of the comments from the initial design review committee too. It's just a long, flat wall. So we've looked at, can we offset the new addition? What can we do with the facade to give it more shape and detail? Just a little more pleasing to look at.
Okay. I mean, I think it's more than just windows. So to your point, like this is like, you got to care that is, so that it's also up against the lot line. So I don't know if there's a sidewalk there on both sides of the street. I think there's a little work to be done around the pedestrian too. I just don't know 33rd. So I'm going to look to staff to work on this before it comes back for final.
Yeah, and I think we do keep the sidewalk intact along 33rd on our side.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I wanted to suggest maybe they can do something with greenery or landscaping along that wall. Make it a little bit more pleasing to the site.
I believe there is a view, a side view. There we go. No, not that one. Is there another one that kind of shows any landscaping or sidewalk? No, we don't have that with here today. But yeah, we'll look at the landscaping and look at that pedestrian walkway.
Okay. Okay, and come back with a little more context in the site plan that does show what's across the way there on 33rd.
Very good.
Okay. Commission members? I think we have a motion and a second already, right? So, did we?
No.
No. Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval incorporating the comments from design review and also the comments from the commission about the frontage on West 33rd to soften it with landscaping and other elements.
Second.
Motion and a second. Let's call the roll.
Madam Chair, if I may, again, procedures to the member, if you could clarify which part of the motion that you'd like to include from the discussion of the members, just being more specific in your motion, that would be helpful. Thank you.
You're talking about?
I move schematic design approval with the conditions of adding more glazing to the West 33rd frontage, increasing the articulation of the West 33rd facade, and proposing detailing the facade with different materials.
Okay. Can we second that again?
Second.
Okay. Call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, next item. This is Near West Design Review 2022-030. This is Taco Bell, new restaurant construction approval at 3522 Clark Avenue. I'll need to swear in anyone to speak to this, but I will note that this was disapproved unanimously for conceptual design. And so we'll hear from the applicants and probably staff why that is and deliberate. So Chris, are you here and anyone else who's going to speak to this matter?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. I'm here, Chris Bednar from Karpinski Engineering, representing our client Charter Foods.
Is there anyone else on your team here?
Just myself.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, take it away.
Yes, thank you, members of the Planning Commission, taking time to review our conceptual site plan for the new Taco Bell restaurant proposed for Clark Avenue. Currently, the site today is on an open field. If you look on the screen here, it's the property between the Rally's restaurant that's at the corner of Fulton and Clark, and then I believe it's an existing service garage building that's to the west. You can go to the next slide. Currently today, the property is here's an aerial view or street image view of the site, just showing the current condition. It's wood in the back and it's a grass open field today. Next slide, please. So property requires consolidation of 5 parcels. The 5 parcels combined together results in a lot acreage of 0.68 acres. It's currently located in the general retail business district with urban overlay form-based code. If we can go to the next slide. This is just showing the existing topography on the site. Relatively flat with the mound that's been there probably in the back. Probably someone dumped topsoil at one point up against the tree line. Next slide, please. So our proposed site that we looked at the site in terms of the new form-based code with the urban frontage, pedestrian frontage zone. And the challenge that we're having here is, and I believe, part of the reason for the unanimous disapproval of the site from the Near West meeting is trying to meet that 80% of building along the frontage, including 60% of it being the building and 20% being a low site wall. The challenge here is, Taco Bell's, they're very, like most fast food places, they're limited type of floor plans that they provide. There's a lot of operations management that's put into the thought and the layout of these restaurants. And we've looked at various different iterations of trying to get into the spirit of the new form-based pedestrian urban frontage. And we believe we have a site that gets close to meeting the objectives of it. The building itself is located about 10 feet back past the right-of-way line. We kind of started with the code point of that all drive-through interaction has to be located out of the pedestrian frontage, which we placed the center of the drive-through window. If you can kind of see on the west side of the building, there's a box that sits out in the drive-through lane. That's the location of the drive-through window. So we placed that interaction point on that 45-foot setback and then kind of worked with the building. It pushed it back past the, I believe, 8-foot setback line, which is the minimum or the maximum setback for the frontage of the building. But it does create, this type of layout kind of tries to, meet those objectives as close as possible, providing a building that's up near the frontage, near the public sidewalk, that helps allow for pedestrian access in and out of the site. We did look at alternates, to be able to rotate the building, and it just, doesn't fit on the site. The challenge is it puts the parking way in the back, does not make it easily pedestrian friendly, doesn't meet corporate Taco Bell's concerns of pedestrians potentially crossing drive-through lanes from a safety standpoint, and then also for ADA concerns, it puts the parking spaces a significant distance away from the entrance. If you kind of go to the next slides too, this building as shown currently today doesn't, or if you go back to the alternate there, rotated 90 degrees, it puts the majority of the building that's along Clark Avenue with just a blank wall space because of the location of restrooms in the building. If you kind of currently look at the floor plan here, the dining room space, which has all the glass glazing to see into the building, is located, on the left-hand side of the building up front. The back of the house operations, kitchens, and also restrooms, are located, on probably about a good 2/3 of the building, which do not have windows. And that was another, thought of having this building up along the right of way there, turn 90 degrees, and how it wouldn't work is that visually it's just a big blank wall, with some, I guess, decorative material along it to help kind of lighten it up. But the site, I guess, it is a challenge to meet this form-based code, and we would be interested in coming in to get some obtain variances possibly for the 80% principal street frontage build out, as well as the hours of operation. Our property does abut a residential district for 5 properties behind us, and then it jumps back to the retail district that's behind Rallies. And our restaurant, we're looking to have the hours of 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. And I believe the current code when abutting a retail district is the time is 10, either it's 9:30 or 10 p.m. Maximum time. So we're looking to have a variance for extension of hours of operation for that. So kind of with that, take any, comments or, insight into this current site layout that we're proposing with the building, the majority of not turned 90 degrees, but majority of it north-south orientation.
Thank you. Is it possible to hear from staff or the director or anything about the local or the council person or anything?
Sure. My first comment is that the councilwoman does not approve of this particular application. I will share that to clarify for the record, this is not the form-based code, but the urban form overlay district. Form-based code is an entirely different, set of codes that has not yet been adopted. Just to clarify too, the purpose of the urban form overlay is designed to encourage more efficient site plans that use less land in the city's urban neighborhoods. And, this covers over 5 parcels. And really the urban form overlay prohibits the suburban style autocentric development. This was identified through the Clark-Fulton Together plan, along with the residents, that they wanted more of an urban form. There are also other specifics that I can get into, regarding glazing, or we can discuss the 80% build out frontage more, but overall, we just feel that from a design perspective, this does not fulfill the urban form overlay district goals.
And I did believe, part of the challenge is just, we don't have a building that gets to meet that objective of being able to get, out of the 166-foot frontage. I believe that 80% requires a building that's about 100 feet wide to be up against that. So really this parcel, really the only type of potential use would perhaps be a retail strip mall type of looking building with 3 or 4 businesses, but then you won't be able to have the amount of parking in the back to meet those, 3 or 4 businesses that it would take to do that full 80-foot or 100-foot build out across the frontage. So I think that's the challenge that we were having with this site, is just having, the buildings that, our clients are franchisees, so they're, working within the Taco Bell corporate guidelines, and they just don't have a building that's that wide to meet, the code based on that.
Okay. Commission members, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, two comments. The first is it would be nice to have context in these presentations. When you start referring to residential and what you abut, I have no concept of what you're talking about. So the second thing is, it's an indictment on where we are in this world. You know, I don't know why you can't start creating some more urban models, retail that quite frankly start responding to the condition. I'm sure if you're in some affluent neighborhood someplace, you would do what you had to do. So for that reason, I just don't feel comfortable approving this plan. So I would move to disapprove the request.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion to disapprove and a second. Any other comment? All right.
A quick question, and I think I'm on the same page, but it just seems that is the fundamental issue that this site kind of what is the typical acreage of a fast food site, and are those typically more rectangular where this is square? Is it August just said as well as this site is trying to put like the site does not accommodate this business.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I mean, what you're telling us is here's a corporate model, and if it doesn't fit, we want all these variances. Why not change the corporate model? That's so. It's not acceptable, not at least not in this neighborhood as it's designated.
Correct. Ted, I think, to answer the previous question, the site is typical of Taco Bell sites that we see that we work on in other communities. They're typically under 1 acre and more of either a rectangular or square type of site. The challenge is just the having 60% of the frontage, not to be part of a building. To be able to meet that objective. I don't even know, even if we took the restaurant, our back operation of the restaurant, moved it up to the front corner, if we'd still have the amount of space. We could take another look at, maybe the parcel doesn't need to be as wide, and that we could maybe split off, not include all 5 properties into the consolidation. Would it be potentially possible to have reduced parking count as a variance if we could get that urban frontage across the front with the building and the wall to make work with the smaller width of the lot?
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I'll just comment to that, Chairwoman, that the Taco Bell at Detroit and I think Arthur in Lakewood, has it's on a corner. I think it has like a little plaza. Like it seems to kind of meet the spirit of urbanity a little more. So like I think that it's possible, but this just feels like something like you're traveling out Mayfield Road and you're trying to turn left into the parking lot. So.
Okay. Thank you. Spirit of urbanity, that's a new term we're going to define. I like it. All right, let's call the roll.
Downing.
Yes.
Luker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. So I'll sort of encourage you to work with the staff at the Planning Commission and see what next steps are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item. Northeast Design Review Case 2022-004, proposed demolition of a 2-story mixed-use building. This is at 5925 St. Clair. No action was taken here. It was a split vote 2-2. Leon, are you here? Anyone else to speak to this?
Yeah, Leon Sampat, Ellis Architects. And I believe that, I don't know that that's correct, the 2-2 vote. We went back to them with the proposed use of the lot.
Okay, hold on. Before you speak, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll ask staff to clarify that as well, but go ahead.
Yeah, so, this proposal is really for the demolition of the two-story structure and the three-car garage at the rear of the property. The building.
Can you move the slides, Maurice?
Yeah, the building's in pretty poor shape. So this site plan was produced to show what the intended use is going to be. The current owner to the property to the northwest owns both of these parcels. His current use is a convenience store, and he's looking to expand his building onto this property to the east, which has the two-story structure. And actually, if you go down, I believe, to the next slide, there's a photograph, maybe one more. Sorry, one more. Nope, maybe one more. There's a photograph of the existing building. There's the three-car garage. His building, you'll see kind of a partial view of his existing convenience store. This is the structure that we're looking at demolishing. Design review we actually met them at the site. They walked the structure because they were hesitant on approving the demolition. Once they did walk the site, we did get approval on the demolition. However, they suggested that we come back and show them what the property owner's intention is, and this is in the next couple of years. So that was what we were passing through on the presentation. If you go back to the second slide, the color rendering of, so this is what's proposed for the future once this property is demolished. This would be the expansion and reconfiguration of the existing building. But right now, we're just seeking the approval on demolition. We're not even seeking conceptual approval on this plan because it is a few years out. But like I said, design review had asked that we come to them with that. They didn't want to approve a demolition without the conceptual approval, a plan presented.
Are there any internal pictures of the condition of the existing building?
Does not look like it was in the presentation, but we did present that at design review. And like I said, they did walk the structure. It's not the safest structure, and they felt that, and they agreed once we met on site. That was the intention for the meeting on site. They did not want to approve this without going there.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, if I'm familiar, very close to this area, most of the buildings sit right along the street. And this is sort of out of context. So you're tearing down a building that maintains the urban edge to build, or to propose to build something that sits back and to create a sea of parking. What's the context here? I can't follow this.
So the current owner, he's looking at trying to expand his structure for his store. He was looking at creating a small coffee shop. As far as the existing structure, to incorporate that into his existing building, we just wasn't able to do that to expand his business.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, you're missing my point. What happens in and around across the street, a block away, parcel away? I don't know. It's hard for me to understand what it is you're proposing in context.
Yeah. I do think we do need that. Also, I think I heard you say that there is no plan for this for a few years. This is just showing what might possibly happen. This isn't actually what they're going to do, right?
Correct. They have they want to. They're having issues with people sleeping in the building, so they wanted to demolish it to make sure it's a safety concern that they're having.
But they have no current intent to build what you're showing today, right away.
No, they said that between 1 and 2 years is the construction timeline that we were given.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, to the applicant, my question is exactly as my colleagues. So what happens between that 2-year period? It is just going to be vacant land? Is there going to be landscaping? What's going to happen?
They were planning on just filling and planting grass and to be vacant.
To the director, can you speak to what happened at the local design review or at least the planner for that district?
Unfortunately, the neighborhood planner is out of the office today, and so I'm not able to share additional context to what happened in design review. I will share that. Oh, I see a note here. This was in Sharonda's area. The design review did approve the demolition, as far as I understand. Is that accurate? But then, just for background, the building itself has lost its integrity despite it being a contributed building to historic commercial area. So the council person, I believe, is in support of the demolition.
Is a council person just curious for this part of Sinclair?
Councilman Hairston.
Hairston. Okay, got it.
I would feel more comfortable if I had more context. I can't follow what they're proposing. I don't know what type of missing tooth is going to happen and how it impacts adjacent properties. I would move to table this, request that the applicant come back with a better presentation to articulate his position.
And I agree with that, and I will second your motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I also think it's important that you come back with the owner so we can hear from them what their real plans are for the future. So I think when there are situations like this, it's important that the owners show up. So if you're coming back, I would come with the owner. Can we call the roll? There's a motion to table. Can we call the roll?
I'm sorry, I'm getting confused on the mute and unmute for some reason. Downing.
Yes.
Luker.
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so you can work with staff and are welcome to come back at the next meeting or when you're ready. Next item. This is Northeast Design Review. This is East 66th Street and Lexington Avenue. This is between East 66th and East 65th and East 66th. We have a few people here to speak to this. It's a very large group. So I'm going to do a group swearing in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have any specific involvement in this case. I will remain and hear this, but I will likely abstain. So I just want to make note of that. But we'll still remain on the commission just because of all the work doing on East 66th Street and with many of these partners. So,
Madam Chair, I must recuse myself.
yes, you must. So let's continue and have you guys present this project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cassandra Manna, and I'm representing the development. We had a few people had to step off the call. We just had them on to answer any questions if they arose, but I'll present a little summary of this project.
Cassandra, sorry, one second. Yep. Just for my benefit, we have Charles. We still have 4 without me. And so just out of an abundance of caution, Diane, do you mind sharing this and taking it from here? And we'll still be able to vote.
No, that's okay. Fine. Madam
Just out
Chair.
of an abundance of caution, just because I have so much involvement on East 66th Street and with all these partners, I just feel better. And if August and I step off, so I apologize. But Diane is a better chair than me, so she'll take over.
Now that I've gotten rid of my echo, we have potential again. Okay, why don't you proceed with your presentation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so I will do a quick little summary and then I'll hand it off to John Wagner of City Architecture to go through the design. We have previously been here in front of you guys before for conceptual design review approval. We went back to design review for schematic and final approval, and we received both schematic and final approval from design review. So we are looking to the City Planning Commission to receive both schematic and final approval. I don't know if that will require two separate motions or you can do it all in one, but just wanted to make that clear. A quick thank you to Chief City Planner Kim Scott and Assistant Director Margaret Fields for helping us make our way through this process. We're really excited about this project. As previously presented to you guys, we're looking to develop the half block that is to the west of League Park and north of the new Huff Cleveland Public Library. And we are looking to put 3 new buildings there, including parking. One of the buildings will be an expansion space for the Baseball Heritage Museum, which is located at League Park. They are looking to expand their programming through additional uses at the park. And then across the street, there will be batting cages and an indoor infield to allow for baseball and other sport practices year round. And it will additionally house some archiving space and office space for the museum. And they will continue to house mainly in the ticket house at League Park. But this will allow them to have some more flexibility on what they bring to the community. The other 2 buildings will house local businesses that we hope will kind of solidify that corner of the block with the Fatima Center, the new Huff Library, and obviously League Park. So developing that, we think will really finish that area and put it together. We have been working extensively with City Architecture to make sure the whole design incorporates the Green Streets Initiative. So all the renderings that you're going to see have those dimensions included into it and have taken that into account. Additionally, we've been speaking with the community extensively, participating in East 66 corridor meetings to get feedback from the community, and the Baseball Heritage Museum, Bob Zimmer, has done a lot of door-to-door knocking, talking to the local neighbors and residents of that community. I additionally have a statement that was sent by Midtown. They were not able to attend this meeting. I didn't know if I could read that aloud now or if you wanted to wait till the end. A statement in support.
If it's not too long, you can read it now.
Yeah, it's quick. It says, Midtown is fully supportive of this project. We've been working with members of the development team in the Baseball Heritage Museum for a few years. Midtown also has a representative on the Baseball Heritage Board and has participated in the strategic planning process for this development. The development team in Baseball Heritage Museum have demonstrated incredible efforts to engage community members. We couldn't be more excited to continue to support the investment and transformation taking place on East 66th Street. So now I'll just hand it over to John and he will go through the designs for all of you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Cassandra. Cassandra, you did a great job, so I'm going to go quickly through the design. It has evolved since the last time you saw it, more in terms of refinements since December. But just to quick overview, building is located at the northwest corner of East 66 and Lexington, shown here on the site plan. Next slide, please. The next 2 slides will show the context, some dilapidated buildings that currently exist on the site. Those are proposed to be torn down, as well as some of the neighboring buildings, including the redeveloped League Park. The Huff Library is under construction, and then some of the single-family homes that are directly adjacent to the site. Next slide, please. The property is under control by the developer, other than the 3 parcels that are highlighted with a heavier dotted line. Those are parcels that we are requesting from the land bank, which is also part and parcel why we are requesting final approval to get that transfer finally to move forward, so that we can move forward with the development. Next slide, please. As Cassandra mentioned, the development is made up of 3 different buildings, 2 buildings along Lexington. One is 2-story commercial. The other one is a 1-story commercial pavilion building that anchors the corner with rooftop access. And then the 3rd building up East 66, directly across from League Park, is the expanded Baseball Heritage Museum space, as well as the batting cages. Around the back along East 65th, we have tucked in the parking and created, generous screening from the neighbor's home to allow the buildings to sit on the urban edge where they should be and respond to the proposed streetscape designs that are happening along East 66th. Next slide, please. The landscape plan has evolved, but incorporating, shade trees as part of the Midtown and Huff corridor restoration of the tree canopy, as well as landscape buffers between the adjacent residents, ground level planting, and then a series of more ornate garden planters at the corner, creating sort of a transit waiting, pedestrian environment at East 66th and Lexington. The next slide shows the plant material as well as some of the site landscape features, including screening, fencing, receptacles, bike racks, benches. We're looking to create a wide range of color and textures that are present throughout the year, taking into consideration, plant types and maintenance, so that it looks good, or as good as it can, all year round. Next slide, please. Site lighting is just important for not only the success of the development, but the safety of the neighborhood. We're using a mix of different types of fixtures, including pole mounted around the parking lot, wall mounted in and around courtyards, few sporadic bollards for safety purposes, as well as some cable lighting in between the buildings, creating opportunities for outdoor seating for proposed tenants and neighbors. Next slide, please. These are the floor plans of the building. They're fairly generic in their space because the tenant mix is still being worked out. But the building on the west on Lexington and 65th is a 2-story commercial building with tenants on the ground floor and the upper floor. The building at the corner is more of a pavilion building, and you'll see that in the elevations and the rendering. And that has the ability to accommodate, overhead garage doors so that the space can spill out onto the street. And then the batting cage building has a small entrance off that alley in the corner, with some additional storage for the Baseball Heritage Museum and upper floor to overlook parents to overlook their kids and teams in the batting cages, as well as sort of a mini infield to work on certain aspects of the game. Next slide, please. So I think the perspectives at the end of the presentation are far more telling, but here are the elevations. They're a mix of very traditional forms and elements and materials, including masonry, fiber cement siding, precast, metal. The building on the left is a very sort of, what you would expect to find as a neighborhood scale retail building. The pavilion building on the corner is maybe a little bit more modern, but has the opportunity to really be a versatile type retail building with the garage doors and a potential rooftop terrace for expanded seating overlooking all of the development that is happening at this intersection. And then around the corner, the batting cage is a really sort of simple gabled building. It actually has a steel trellis along East 66th. And I know the design review commented on the potential, the use of the green color, and we are more than willing to take a look at it. But it is sort of reminiscent and taken from the Great Wall that is over at League Park. Next slide, please. These are the materials that I mentioned. It's a mix of natural masonry, a dark masonry, precast concrete, a wood look aluminum siding, a couple of different corrugations to break down the scale of the batting cage building, and then, you know, the steel pergola and aluminum storefront and glass as we move through. Next slide, please. So the last two images, this is an aerial view looking northwest of the development along with the Huff Library Branch and League Park. Fatima Center is in the foreground. You can see how the development sort of embraces the corner, but also creates plaza space out there for things to happen in and around this really exciting intersection. And then the last slide is a ground level view showing how this development really sort of fits into this context, and the scale of the building and some of the suggestions that were made at design review back in December, including the inclusion of rooftop space at that pavilion building, really will enhance this corner and make it a really vibrant and integral part of all of the development that is happening along East 66th.
Thank you. This is a wonderful project. I love the care that's been taken with the design and the materials. But with that, I will open it up to comments from other commission members.
Madam Chair, I move for approval with the conditions stated by design review.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Would you call
Madam
the
Chair, will it be possible for us to get final approval? This is really necessary in order to move forward with the land bank transfer.
I will ask Dr. McCray-Scott, would you amend or change your motion to state that?
Absolutely. I will amend my motion to give final approval with the conditions outlined by design review.
And do I have a second?
Yep. Second.
Great. Thank you for reminding me of that request. Okay, let's call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Curry,
Abstain.
McCray-Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
The motion passes. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Euclid Corridor, this is UCI Development Stokes West, new construction, seeking final approval. This is at the corner of Cedar Avenue and Stokes Boulevard. We have a few folks to speak to this, so I'm going to swear you all in together. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
This was approved, if you go back with, just so I can read it, as presented, but this will return at a later date for landscaping and lighting, and so we'll get into that. All right, take it away.
Okay, this is Jeff Goldstein from Acre, representing the development team. Appreciate your time and having us back to return for final approval. So since we last met a couple of weeks ago, we have spent our time working with planning staff, Councilman Griffin and FRDC to make what we hope are some meaningful refinements to the project. Joining me today is LDA Architects, who will walk through some of these changes in the presentation. We also have Elise Yablonsky from University Circle Incorporated. So Steve or Chris, why don't you take us through the presentation, please?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. And yeah, I guess just before we get it started, I didn't know if Elise was going to say any intro also or no.
I would just reiterate what Jeff shared about, you know, being glad that the development team has worked collectively and the design team with City Planning Commission staff, as well as Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation, as this design has continued to evolve. They'll talk through, what items are here for final approval today and which are still pending. The primary pending ones are the site design and public art, which we're still working on with Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation. But we're really thrilled with how this project has continued to evolve, particularly with the activation on Cedar. Thank you.
Yeah, so as I said, we have been working with city planning staff, and in particular have really focused on refining the Cedar Avenue side of the project. In particular, we've worked on developing the townhome building and have, since our previous meeting here, added interior space facing Cedar on all 6 of those townhomes, along with a stoop. So really providing more activation along that sidewalk along Cedar. We've also looked at that south end and the Cedar Avenue and the corner on Stokes in regards to that park and the facade on that side as well. Also on the site plan, we have worked with the fire department and making sure we have the proper access for fire department equipment. So that has been addressed in the site plan as well. We can go to the next slide. As also mentioned at the beginning, we will return at a later date for the landscaping and incorporation of public art. So that is intended to occur at both of those corner parks. We were working with the Fairfax Development Corporation to select make all that happen. On the left of the slide, there is some information about the affordability components, which we previously presented as well.
Yeah, and Steve, we can just pause for a second. I know there was a comment or a question last time we were here about the affordable units. So I just want to reiterate that the affordable units that we include that are dedicated low income restricted, the plan is to conform with all qualifications of fair housing in terms of how those units are selected and distributed within the building. They will not be all one unit type. They will not be all one floor, all one size. They will conform with all qualifications for fair housing. I know that had come up, so I just wanted to reiterate that again.
Great.
Go ahead, Steve.
Next slide. And then, as also previously mentioned, the main building will be LEED Silver and the townhomes will be LEED Gold. Next slide. And then just the order of the slides that are upcoming, we do go through the renderings first, then I have the floor plans, and after that I have some more detailed information about the materials proposed for the project. So this is the view from the north on Cedar, or I'm sorry, the north on Stokes, and then this is the south view from Cedar and Stokes. So you start to see where we've started to wrap that corner of Stokes and Cedar, including the terracotta panels. So primarily the project is 3 materials. We have glazing, a large amount of glazing, especially kind of at the corners of the building. In between, we have a terracotta panel system, which would also be a rain screen system. And then we have metal kind of frames throughout the project. And this trellis component also. So the trellis would be a aluminum product as well. From this view, you can see the kind of the rear entrance from the parking lot, as well as the roof deck on the on the 4th floor. Next slide. It's just a closer version, zoomed in view of the roof deck. Next. And this is that south corner again at Cedar and Stokes. So we did push, I think one of the comments from either this commission or the Euclid corridor previously was to move the park further away from the roads. So it is now back closer to the building, giving it a little bit more buffer space to the traffic. Next slide. And then this is as you're going down Cedar with the townhomes. This would be the entrance, drive entrance in between the two buildings. Next slide. And then you can see we've really tried to make the two buildings relate to each other. So even though they're a different typology, we still have the same materials on the townhomes that occur on the larger building. And with the terracotta being the main material for the solid wall areas. You can also see in this view, this is where we've added more glazing on the ground floor of the townhomes, as well as the stoops. Next slide. It's a view from the western corner. Next slide. This is the parking lot side of the townhomes. We are proposing translucent glass garage doors just to tie it back in with the rest of the buildings and the glazing, so it doesn't seem so much like the back facade. And there are also balconies on the townhomes above the garages. Next slide. This is just the overall aerial view. I think we'd probably mention also when we get to elevations, but we have a mix of Juliet balconies and full depth balconies throughout the project. Next slide. So this is the floor plan. This has not changed much since the last time. On the north end, we have the amenities for the building. Towards the south are the two-story loft type apartment units, with the main lobby being in between the two. Next slide. This is the loft level, which on the north side has the co-working space.
We don't need, sorry to interrupt you, but just don't need to go through the floor plans too much.
Okay. Continue. Third floor is all residential. Then the fourth floor is where we have the pool deck. And then above that are the typical floor plans. On the roof plan, in the renderings, you might have noticed that the ends of the buildings pop up slightly higher than in the middle. And then this is the townhome plan that we did discuss about adding that interior space facing Cedar. So this would be the biggest change regarding the floor plans.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate on top that this was a discussion and a recommendation from Director Huang and her staff, and we feel like it adds a lot of character to these townhomes, and really plays well from the sidewalk view on Cedar.
Keep going. And then this is where we get into the detailed material stuff for the elevations. I'm going to go ahead and let Chris from LDA walk through these items.
Good morning, everyone. Just to be clear, I'm not sure that I got my cell phone off mute in time to swear in properly. So if I may now confirm that I will be telling the truth.
Okay, you're good.
Okay. So the design overall is in large a function of the floor plan. So we have placed the larger units on the ends of each tower, and those have been given a bit more glass. You can see here from the elevations than the units in between. We have these pairs of bays that are generated by the studio units between. Steve mentioned the material palette is relatively simple. We didn't want to overcomplicate things, the building has just 3, terracotta, glass, and metal panel system. The terracotta and metal panel system will be a rain screen system, both of them. The terracotta, we would be proposing 2 different colors for it. A really true Adobe terracotta color for the middle portion of the building, and to ground the building and create a more top filling, we have selected a bit darker of a mocha color for those areas for the main building, and we are using the same 2 colors on the townhome building. We'll get there in a minute. I think Steve also mentioned we have balconies, one that is a Juliet style, and you see that in the middle portions of each tower, again, relating to the studios. And on the ends, a full depth balcony of about 5 feet that you can walk out on for the larger 1 and 2 bedrooms. We received a comment, I think it was Euclid Corridor Design Review again, where the building cantilevers out over the pool deck. And those areas, the soffit we would treat with a wood-looking aluminum material, because you would view that from the street. And we also have a trellis system that would match this wood soffit look throughout, that you probably just saw in the renderings, and you'll see in the elevations as well. There's one kind of covering the north plaza over there on the right side, and it wraps around the back over a patio and on the pool deck as well. So that's kind of an overall. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so here you see the.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris. I'm not sure we need to go through each of the technical renderings since you've shown us the materials, if that's okay. I think we're okay. And you're coming back with landscaping and lighting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the public art component, yes.
And public art, okay. Unless commission members want to go into tremendous amount of detail, I think we can. Unless there are other site elements you want to show us on the material side.
Yeah, I would, if we could go to just one more slide. I think the next slide has kind of just an important detail.
Okay.
So here, an enlarged elevation view of your typical base where you have your studio units, and we have a mechanical system in which the terracotta has been designed to screen your traditional punched opening louver. And we've tilted the panels. You can see the enlarged section view there in 2 different orientations, one to facilitate air movement in and also out. And you'll see in the renderings and also the elevations that this will catch the light in different ways and create additional visual interest, as the louvers have been tilted from their typical vertical orientation along the wall. Thank you.
Okay. Commission members, any questions or comments?
I have a question, excuse me, about the Juliet balconies. It's just a little hard to tell. Is that like a decorative element under a window, or is it actually a door, or like a floor length window that, like I think sometimes Juliet balconies are just used as decorative items underneath the window, and I honestly think it's silly. But I can't tell from the picture here.
And so there's a sliding, like a sliding patio door behind the railing. So, it's a full height type of opening, but in a sliding configuration.
Good answer. Just I think that the one where it's just underneath the window is kind of misrepresenting it as a balcony. So I think it'd be nice for someone to actually, Juliet, to be able to open up the slider and stand at the balcony and talk to Romeo, not just hang out the window.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We did that purposely because of we wanted these units to be able to get fresh air and to be able to open a large door versus a small window. When the weather is nice. Thought that was important.
Okay. Commission members, any other questions or comments or motion? And you're asking for final approval, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. And I see, so commission members?
I'll move approval incorporating the comments from design review coming back for landscaping.
And lighting.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? Okay, let's call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
No.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
No.
Slife.
Yes.
The motion carries 3-2. Thank you very much. And we'll see you. We'll see you back here at some point for the lighting and for the landscape plan. So thank you.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Special presentations. We have a records retention policy update. It's 11:20, so I know we have some items and some public art and some legislation. So I really ask that maybe we could try to do this one in 5 minutes, if that's okay, Michael?
Actually, Madam Chair, I'm willing to wait until after you do all the other items. It's just
Okay.
informational purposes only.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then special presentations, public art. This is the Jacqueline Gillen Legacy Mural at 11601 Kinsman Road. We have someone here from Land Studio, and we have the artist, Antoine Washington. Welcome to you both. Can I swear you in? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. And just a quick correction. Oh, thank you, Antoine. I am here in my capacity as co-director, along with Samia Bray and in legacy of Jacqueline Gillen with the Black Environmental Leaders Association. So I will be presenting as co-director of BEL, which is short for Black Environmental Leaders Association, and we'll be passing the presentation along to Antoine Washington, who is the artist of record on this project. So we can go to the next slide. Just a little bit of context behind this project. Black Environmental Leaders Association is doing a campaign this year to embrace the legacy of Jacqueline Gillen, who perhaps many folks in this room got to know professionally, was a pillar in the Cleveland community for many, many years. Her work with not only the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, but she also served as in a civic capacity as a board member of East Cleveland, but also as a mentor to many, many generations of leaders in the environmental justice space here in Cleveland. So this is just one portion. The mural project is one portion of a much larger campaign to honor her legacy. So the project is located at the corner of East 116th and Kinsman Road at Henry's Cleaners. And it will be on the east face side of the building. Next slide. So previous projects that have been done here include a mural that's on the west facing side of the building, which was installed in 2019, a mural by Donald Black, and also ongoing green space improvements that actually Jackie Gillen herself had advocated in her role at the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, and that have been installed over the last couple of years, including a tree planting and green space development in coordination with the RTA. Next slide. So I'm going to pass it over to Antoine to tell us a little bit about himself and to talk about the conceptual development of the artwork.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to present today. I'm Antoine Washington. I'm an artist here locally here in Cleveland. My work is inspired mainly around and speak to the Black American experience, I mainly paint and draw. I'm a fine artist. Yeah, I'll get into a little bit about the concept and different things leading up to working with Bell and WRLC on this project and Jackie's family. We came up with a few concepts, which you see here. You see the two smaller concepts were the ones that wasn't picked, but those were the three that were chosen that they had to choose from. And when I was speaking with the family and also Bell about Jackie's legacy and what she's done throughout the community and how important she is to environmental justice, I wanted to build a concept that was a full wraparound of Jackie's story and her legacy. And through that, I came up with the concept of environmental justice. So that's why you see the scales, you see the shovel, you see the trees being planted, because those are different things that Jackie, has done and was working towards doing in East Cleveland. And she's done such a great job with the green space at Henry's Cleaners that she didn't fully get a chance to see that come all the way through. And so what I wanted to do is to be able to speak to Jackie's legacy and the work that she's been doing. So we chose to also add a little bit of her artistic ability, her artistic work through poetry, and take an excerpt from one of her poems called "Giving Up Times." And the quote on the bottom right says, "Just remember that first smile and next hello." So we wanted to add also a bit of her creativity to the piece, but also add those tears of mourning, but also the water represents what brings life to to our green spaces and to our plants and different things like that, and how those tears and that mourning of the family of her untimely passing has brought everyone together in a unified front to make sure that we bring Jackie's project to its full fruition. And so also with speaking to Black family and just different things that I talk about within my own personal artwork, I wanted to also bring some of those elements to that, because that's what community is about. It's about that foundational family structure. So that's the reason why you see the mother and child, but also the dove to also signify and also in honor of her death. And so as you see on the side of the with the mural rendering, you see that we have a little bit of distortion, but that will be cleaned up and fixed when we actually install the mural. So it's just, I just had to stretch it when I was actually doing the rendering through Photoshop. It just wasn't acting right and wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. And so that's the reason why you have a little bit of distortion. And also when I created it, I didn't create it with, I didn't create the concept, my fault, with the building structure in mind. I just was sketching and just kind of coming up with ideas for the concept, and the family chose this one. So I'm very honored that they chose me as the artist, and they chose this concept.
Phenomenal.
And so just to wrap up, it is 336 square feet. A painting on that side of the building. All of the surface will be covered, including the doors and the vent, not the lighting. And these are the materials that are going to be used for the installation. And we are hoping, upon approval, to install sometime later this month, early September, for a September unveiling. And happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
If I may make a comment and jump in. I first of all was really emotional when I saw this mural. Jackie was a very special person to many of us. She mentored me for a short while, so I'm really happy to see this go forward. And Antoine is fantastic. I'm so glad the family chose you, Antoine. I also just want to share that Tara Putras also enthusiastically supports this mural, and that the location is perfect, that Councilwoman Gray submitted a formal letter supporting it. And I think my last comment is just that it's been, today is actually the 1-year anniversary of Cleveland Walls starting. So happy 1-year anniversary, Antoine. And I'm just happy to see that, you know, that was Antoine's first mural at a large scale. And now, you know, this is sort of just an appropriate marking of, you know, another mural coming down the line by such a wonderful artist. So thank you.
And also congratulations to Antoine on his recent fellowship award as well. And so amazing career. And so congratulations, important for Cleveland. You just have to hopefully stay here. That's all I have to say. All right, commission members.
I move approval, Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? Other than thank you all, and it's amazing. Can't wait to come to the unveiling. So we'll all be coming.
You're all invited. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Can we
so
call
much.
the roll?
I think
Downing,
yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys. The second public art is urban art within Union Miles. This is at 4105 to 109 on East 131st Street. We have Latricia from Union Miles and anyone else. I'm just going to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. Go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I just would like to say I'm glad to be here. I'm the planning project manager for Union Miles Development Corporation. So far, Union Miles is in the process of bringing about murals and artwork into the community. They have been working with local artists and getting unity, trying to get the youth involved and things like that, working on these mural projects. The project has been created by the Union Miles Development Corporation, which is located at 4105 to 4109 East 131st Street within Union Miles. The purpose of it is to create work of art which engages Union Miles residents of Cleveland, to create an exciting, innovative artwork which reflects local history and culture within the Union Miles community and also other communities, and also to bring unity and enjoyment to the Union Miles neighborhood. The dimensions are 10 feet tall and 50 feet long. It'll be next slide. The aerial view right here is at East 131st near Marston Avenue. It's circled. The next slide. This is a sample artwork of the artist that will be doing the mural. This is some of his work, Mr. Kevin Soul. He couldn't be here today. This is a sample at a barber shop and hair salon on 105 in Union of his work. Next slide. This building here at 131st near Harvard is the building that we will have the artwork done at, the mural. It's residential, church owns it. We do have approval from the owner. Next slide. And this will be the mural on that building that was presented to you guys. It promotes unity for the youth and trying to keep them off the streets and let them know that we do have a unified neighborhood and things like that. And that's it. Any questions for me?
Commission members, any questions or comments? Thank you very much. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. Can we call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Motion
you.
carries. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing this installed.
Okay.
Okay, so we have some administrative approvals. Hopefully we can go through these pretty quickly. Are we going to see presentations on these? Director Wong, or are we gonna just go through them brief?
There's no need. If you could just read or summarize, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, actually, if we can just pause on each one and then we'll take a vote at the end. So this is encroachment for Sherwin-Williams. Next one. It's another encroachment at the Medical Center Company in University Circle. This is some streets and additional improvements along multiple roads. Next one. This is a TIF at 36114 Euclid Avenue, which we saw before. This is a zoning matter. This must be just a small change around this one. Next one.
Madam Chair, you had approved that. The commission had approved it as an unnumbered ordinance, and that's why it's
Got
back administered.
Just being numbered. Okay. This is at 5,000 Euclid. You can go forward, actually. You just went back. 5,000 Euclid. This is sort of a assessment for an energy project cooperative. This is a naming and designating of a pocket park. This is to accept a grant. So can I have a motion or any questions on any of those administrative approvals?
Move approval, Downing.
Second, Fluker.
Okay, motion and a second. Let's take the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Director Wong, before the director's report, do you want us to hear the archiving or the other one, or do you want us to go through this first?
To the Records Commission and the Records Archive, and I'll set it up as we get to the slides. Essentially, the administration is working diligently to make sure that we are basically organized and cleaned up. In many of our spaces, we have documents that are overflowing. There's plentiful documents in City Hall. And so there is a Records Commission that meets regularly. Many of you, I did not know that, and now we know. And so I think part of this is that we, as the Planning Commission, need to present to the Records Commission our plan for documentation, which documents need to be kept, which can be discarded or shredded. And so we would like to bring this forward to you for information, but also feedback on our records retention policy. So with that, Michael, if you could run through kind of the high points and summarize in about 5 minutes, that would be great.
Yes, thank you, Director. Madam Chair, Commissioners, what we have is essentially a department that doesn't have its own specific records retention policy. And because of that, we've been holding on to a lot of stuff. We simply didn't want to get rid of anything without understanding how best to do that. And now with this administration, working with the law department, we are getting some guidance. We're working with some documents from the Ohio Historical Society and Ohio History Connection to help us understand the exact procedures to do this with. So if you could go to the next slide, just give you an example of some of the recommendations here. This is on a spreadsheet from a document that we have. They give very specific instructions on with some of these documents, how long you should keep them. So they're recommendations. We have to fill out a form. We have to get it approved by our Internal Records Commission and the Ohio Historical Society. But yeah, we'll come up with some recommendations here that are probably very close to what they're recommending here. Next slide. A couple of things here. I did notice there's some types of documents that are not listed with the Ohio Historical Society, so we're going to have our own little documents regarding that. But also, what a lot of what we do here is project files and for different development projects and what have you. And so there's a little bit of everything in those folders. So we also need to figure out what specific projects we think deserve to be kept in perpetuity. We're certainly going to keep all of the City Planning Commission folders and all of the Fine Arts Committee folders. I've used them in the past for public records requests, actually fairly often. But some of the stuff, from the local design review committees and that sort of thing, we're just, we're holding on to a lot of that stuff from years past that we really don't need to. So what we do want to figure out is which projects that are non-landmarks that we need to really hold on to. I guess my best example would be Progressive Field. We worked extensively with that project, including during construction with Linda Henriksen. So that's something that I think we obviously had a large stake in. So that's basically where we're at right now.
Thank you, Michael. So if we could actually go back up to the slide above, just to show the timelines. Wanted to see if you had any reactions or feedback before we go to the Records Commission. Thank you.
I mean, I think the current policy of throwing everything in the attic and forgetting about it was working, but I will concede that this is more methodical.
But you're okay with this, Councilman, then, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I think it'll be a great historical archaeological search in the attic.
Right.
Well, aren't we primarily talking about digital files?
No.
No. Have you been up there, August? You need to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go because it's going to remind me of my basement. We'll leave it there.
So I have
tell.
To the chair, I was just wondering, so what is going to be the process moving forward of retaining these records? Are you going to scan, put them on a disk, or I'm aging myself talking about a disk, but what are you going to do moving forward?
Madam Chair, to the Commissioner, we intend to keep the hard copy of the Planning Commission meetings that we have. We have also have it electronically. We're keeping all the hard copy of the presentations, my notes and everything. Also, the Fine Arts Committee, that's in a lot of filing cabinets. We're keeping all of that. Any project files of significant projects, we will keep that hard copy. And then there are some other administrative documents that we need to keep for a number of years, like regarding personnel and that sort of thing. But then everything else, I believe we're just going to have recycled or shredded. We are not doing a major scanning of anything at this time. At least we're not planning on it.
So let's save the stuff that's in the attic. If what are you telling me that not only are you going to keep a digital copy on some drive, you're also going to keep a hard copy of that file?
Just for the Planning Commission, yeah, we duplicate that. Everything else, though, is just in hard copy. A lot of the early Fine Arts Committee stuff is purely hard copy, and a lot of the earlier plans are just in hard copy.
I can comment on that as well because we were advised to keep our most important documents in paper because as we know, technology changes. So for example, we still have floppy disks, but no one can use them anymore. And so, being able to retain for our most important documents, both paper and digital, that is easily accessible to us now is going to be critical. However, if it's old handwritten notes, we might scan those if they're important, but if they're drafts, if there are, sign-in sheets from public meetings, we would probably shred or discard those after the life cycle listed here. So.
All right, maybe I'm confused, and maybe today is like not a good day for me. I don't care about floppy disks. That's the old stuff. I'm talking about from this point forward. Is there a reason to have paper copies? You can
Yes,
save
because
things in more than one place digitally. It could be a-
digital, I mean, floppy disks are digital as well, but I'm saying technology changes. And so for our most important files, we need to keep the paper in order to ensure that we have that in the future, or microfiche. But, you know,
but
we store
Joyce,
them on the cloud
I'm not talking about the old
now.
stuff. I'm not talking about the old stuff. Can
I
we
know,
just-
I'm talking about now, even now, if something changes, if the cloud shuts down, if somehow our internet networks become obsolete, we do need to hold on to our paper for the most important materials, if that makes sense.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, you may want to make sure you do a blanket declassification before you take anything home. That's a joke. We don't need to do anything here or vote, but thank you for this update, and we'll go to the director's report.
Thank you. And I just want to thank the whole commission, each member for your participation. I know there were quite a few missing pieces in some of the presentations today. I do want to thank the staff. Most, if not all, of the neighborhood planners are doing double duty, and I just recognize that it can be a strain to be handling all the different files. And I've just been so appreciative of their diligence throughout this time. I'll jump into the director's report. So as Callie mentioned earlier, the Complete and Green Streets policy has been posted for a public comment period. We are also taking nominations for resident appointees to the committee. So please share widely, share among many networks for those who care about our streets, which are some of our most important public spaces. We do want to see diverse candidates, so we would encourage you to share widely. Thank you.
Hey, Joyce, real quick.
Yeah.
You guys know this, and I don't want to sound condescending. Oftentimes when you send out digital content inviting folks, sometimes that's not effective in certain communities, as we know. And then sometimes you have to be more intentional and more direct. So I just wanted to be clear that you may have to do a little bit more for Black and brown communities, because oftentimes when a blanket thing goes out, we feel that it's not for us, right?
Okay.
Because traditionally, that's just what happens, because that's how we're wired. That's what's been done for years. So I just want to be clear there.
Thank you, Member Fluker, and we'll definitely do our best to make sure this gets out in paper formats and try to get them into community spaces before this Sunday. Oh my gosh. Well, we actually do have some folks from various neighborhoods that have been involved in planning efforts before that we could call on to see if they would be willing to apply, and we can extend this if needed. So thanks. Next slide. Thrive 10593. Several of you may remember this planning effort that was adopted back in 2017. This is a corridor plan that spans from the northernmost part of Cleveland all the way to the southernmost part of Cleveland on Cleveland's east side. And so it's such a critical corridor for transportation and connectivity north-south, as well as to our lakes, lakefront, and kind of closer to the nature preserve there. So the design, or preliminary engineering as it's known technically, is moving forward, and we will be announcing public engagement opportunities later this fall, which is just really exciting. All right, next slide. There has been a lot of curiosity about the Superior Midway, and similarly, it is going through the design process. The consultant is being onboarded through the state's Department of Transportation. They will be onboarded in January, according to ODOT's timeline. And so this is an opportunity to incorporate desired project elements into much more of a specific design document, which will then go into engineering and construction documents. We have been planning over the course of many months with our CDC partners how to outreach to those in the neighborhoods, specifically in Asia Town and St. Clair Superior, and in consideration of language access, as well as on the ground outreach, as you mentioned, Member Fluker. So we anticipate that construction will be completed summer 2025, fingers crossed. And the idea is that, this is sort of a standard construction timeline between detailed design, bidding, the award, and construction. So in 3 years, we'll have the midway from Public Square to East 55th Street. Next slide. Yesterday, there was really exciting news that came forward. So Callie Mersman, our senior strategist for transit and mobility, has been working closely with Rob Mavek and others in our administration. Rob is the traffic engineer, along with the city council members, to install 10 radar speed feedback signs. These locations have been identified based on data and where there has been a lot of speeding, and these feedback signs will be rotated after some time. And then 14 modular rubber speed tables were installed at 9 locations and will continue to be installed over the next month. And so this is really exciting for us, as we know how important it is to keep our streets safe from people driving way too fast in their vehicles. And we hope that this is just the start of adding more of these tools to help shape a safer built environment. Next slide. Destination Cleveland, there continues to be a downtown public space survey. This is the last day to fill this out. We need to continue spreading the word, as you shared, Member Fluker. We do need much more diversity in responses. So, to the public that's watching, we encourage you to fill this out, to share it with your friends, so that we can co-determine the future of our public spaces. Next slide. Just some general updates from our end. Our zoning section, thanks to Maurice Rulins, has added these yard signs to tree lawns or posters to storefronts that show upcoming Board of Zoning Appeals hearings, in addition to regular mailings. So you'll see the photo in the slide shows the zoning notice on the tree lawn, as well as handwritten information about when the hearing is, how to access it. Again, we're trying to improve our communications on the street as well as through the traditional mailings. And we're hoping that this pilot has some good success and that we'll be able to replicate this with some of our other processes. Some more general updates. Don Pettit, our longstanding landmarks personnel, his last day at the City of Cleveland will be August 31st. And so we are going to miss him dearly. There's so much to say about Don, but he served for over 30 years, and we know that his shoes will be big shoes to fill in the Landmarks Commission. For those who are interested and work at City Hall, on August 30th, we will be having a Don Pettit Appreciation Day where you can come to the Landmarks Commission and just share some words of encouragement and sign a card for him. Room 514, which is where we typically handle commission meetings and board meetings, we continue to have technology improvements underway, and we anticipate that will be installed over the next week. We'll do some testing of how that's going and hope to begin in-person meetings in September. I know how long and drawn out this virtual process has been. It will be hybrid, so we encourage in-person attendance just for better dialogue and discussion. However, we will provide the virtual option for those who are unable to join us in person. My last thing is that we are going to have a staff training next Thursday afternoon, beginning at 4 p.m. And all day Friday, the 26th. So our office will be closed, again, the afternoon of the 25th, and then all day on the 26th. It's much needed team building and professional development in order to better serve the city. And so we just ask that folks plan ahead in the case that they want to drop by our office for any reason. So with that, I just want to thank you. It's been a good agenda, and I just thank you for your rigor, the commission members, and thoughtfulness. So,
Ms. Wong, one thing, that Taco Bell presentation was presented by an engineer because Karpinski, they don't have architects. And I think the disconnect, because engineers are, linear, pieces fit. And I think that's the problem. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of information because you need to know who you're dealing with. He's not as creative as us on this.
That's right. And that is who the applicant chose to put forward. And I think that's feedback specifically for the applicant. So. Anything else? Back over to you, Madam Chair.
I think you're on mute, Lillian.
I'm saying because of August and the number, it's the 19th, and then the holiday, I think our next meeting is the 2nd of September, 1st there. So we'll see you guys on the 2nd. I know that's also Labor Day weekend, so the beginning of Labor Day weekend. So I think we'll have to really be careful to know about the quorum for that meeting. And then I'd like to point out that on the 16th, the next meeting, I'm actually in Israel on the Federation trip. Worst case, I can figure out the time zone difference if I can from Israel, but it might be tough. So we should really plan ahead for quorum issues. And I know we will be having some new commission members soon. So if at all possible, if we can have them in September, that would be great.
Thanks. We're working on it and hope it goes smoothly. We do need to bring the potential commission members in front of council for the mayoral appointment council committee. And so there is a council process that's needed for this commission. Councilman Slife, I'm hoping that you'll be willing to help us usher that process through and make sure it goes.
If you circle back with me, I'll help ferry that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. It'll be nice to have a full commission soon. So thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you.